however, is not set in motion by the Kafka will to life, business and conquest, but by a Löwish spur that impels more secretly, more diffidently, and in another direction, and which often fails to work entirely. Thus, the letter's hand-delivered scandal. Kafka is not a Kafka. What we in the meantime understand as Kafkaesque is in reality Löwiesque, or that part of Franz that failed to make the Kafka grade. But it is not simply as though Franz could make claims for an original authenticity of the name that would be borne by the father. The defect already emerges in the father's relation to the name, so that the name of the father gets transmitted with a fault line and compromised lineage, offering only a strained fit. There's no power punching, phallogocentric passing on of the name of the father here that wouldn't turn around and bite the paternal bearer. The father himself hasn't fully grown into the name, insofar as I can compare you with Uncle Philip, Ludwig, and Heinrich. That is odd, and here I don't see quite clear either. After all, they were more cheerful, fresher, more informal, more easygoing, less severe than you. The essence of Kafka comes down to that which escapes the true essence of Kafka. Both father and son owe their outstanding features to what fails to meet the Kafkan prerequisites. Where they aberrate from Kafka, the Kafka signature begins. What has by now settled into sheer Kafkan dispositions, severe father, anxious son, punishing bureaucracies, night sweats, skids off the history or accumulated substantiality of the name and what it has come to mean in terms of repeatable and recognizable features. Franz can offer the account of the ill-fitting name only in an abbreviated form, he writes. Kafka's readers will identify the irony of the abbreviated relation to the name in terms of the K's that wander through Kafka's voluminous novels, compressed and deformed, pointing to a never fully knowable name, moving through the sequence of episodes like dissociated letters, partial initials of larger programs. The strength of the name of the father seems to reside in its lapse, its defective and deflected itinerary. Even though Hermann Kafka cannot fully own or live up to the name of Kafka, it is still a name that he carries off without question, while Franz remains clandestine, going about as a stowaway in the father's name. This hidden and illicit transport offers him his one chance and solid diminishment, the kid's survival kit. Kafka is Löwy, more stealth, timid, more failing. In this sense, he sneaks past the name of the father, which was posed as his fate. The playing field's uneven, he avoids collision and collusion, diverting the inevitability of a fatal runoff because, as it turns out, the name behind which he hides, the name itself of hiding, secrecy, timidity, is that of the mother, Lioness Löwy. Switching names and scrambling the codes of paternity, Franz, the un-Kafka, can no longer be mowed down by the pretend father, not on these terms and turf anyway. The so-called father's authority has been rigorously impugned. Franz does not say that he is more like his mother, but that he is a Löwy. Ich, es sehr abgekürzt auszudrücken, ein Löwy. I, to put it in a very much abbreviated form, a Löwy. In terms of rhetorical delivery, Franz interrupts the statement, I, a Löwy, by cutting himself down in a very much abbreviated form, offering the cut and cutting away from the name of the father, while retaining a Kafka component, a speck or specter that allows him to hold off on complete disavowal. He cuts himself down to size, saying in abbreviated form his name, I, a Löwy. The stealth byway supplied by the not name of the father grants him his peculiar survival skills and password. With an added twist of Kafkan irony, the difference with regard to the Kafka name between the father and son proved most dangerous. In any case, we were so different, and in our difference so dangerous to each other, that if anyone had tried to calculate in advance how I, the slowly developing child, and you, the full-grown man, would behave toward one another, he could have assumed that you would simply trample me underfoot so that nothing was left of me. Well, that didn't happen. Nothing alive can be calculated. But perhaps something worse happened. Incalculably, Franz has survived extinction. I hope you have all your screens up listening to what was said in the last few nights. So Franz has, and you have your allegorical ears on as well. Franz has survived extinction, but such a fate and this fact have exposed him to something worse than total annihilation, something that makes him permanently prey to the incalculable, the non-death with which he must face the non-name of the father. A timid child, he would have benefited, he now conjectures, from a kindly word, a quiet taking by the hand, a friendly look. All denied him. The play of hands is crucial to the unfolding of the plaint and appears here in its speculative positivity, projecting a type of tranquil reaching out that might have reassured the martyred child. A lot turns on the destiny of hands, and the letter is replete with a variety of hand positions or practices, many of which Derrida explores in his work on Heidegger's hands. In Kafka, whether withheld or given, as a hand might be given in marriage, or raised and threatening, or meant to calibrate a grip, or determine the way the law itself comes down on the child when the father explains, "Do whatever you like. So far as I'm concerned, you have a free hand. You're of age. I have no advice to give you." The hand, whether in use or off limits, waved or waving, slaps meaning or punishment into the child's memoir, even when it is lifted, that is, removed and figuratively declawed. The scary part is you can't tell which is worse, hands-on or giving you a free hand, letting you off at the unbeatable juncture of your own little hell. In the parable Before the Law, Kafka shows how the law gives a free hand. This is a kind of rethinking of the law that Kafka offers us, which is that the law isn't necessarily principally prohibitive, but it says, go ahead, we have this in Make My Day. Kind of, you know, fuck yourself up, trip up, go ahead. That's the law as Kafka, read by Derrida, doesn't present itself, but speaks to us. Law isn't in the first place an inhibitor or interdictory bar, but lets you go ahead and make your fateful error. The difference between child and adult in this passage comes down to the considerable recognition of reciprocal helplessness, the Hilflosigkeit, the sheer unprotectedness that becomes so important to Freud and then also to Lyotard and Lacan. The menacing hand, Franz writes, and the accompanying, not a word of contradiction, were responsible for the major power playoffs in the relation between father and son. For the effect of it was too strong for me. I was too docile, I became completely dumb, cringed away from you, hid from you, and only dared to stir when I was so far away from you that your power could no longer reach me, at least not directly. Hermann Kafka operated the coinciding clashes of hand and utterance, threat and injunction, in such a way as to render language searingly competent, loading the ability of language in collaboration with body to land fateful swipes.